Hey everybody, I'm nutritionist Dr. Mike Roussel, and in this episode of the Dr. Mike Show, it's one of my favorite kinds of episodes. We're going to take reader questions. We're going to talk about eating out. We're going to talk about the things that I eat on a daily basis, the fitness and health apps that are on my phone, and what you can do if you think you have low testosterone levels. All right, so let's get into today's show. As I was saying, this is one of my favorite shows. This is a reader listener question show. So if you have a question that you'd like me to answer on the Dr. Mike Show, you can just go to mikeroussel.com, click the contact or the about link at the top of the page and submit your question. And it could get included in an upcoming show. So the first question that we have in today's show is someone writes in, they say, I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm struggling. I'm careful about what I'm eating, but I eat out a lot, and I think this could be the problem. How can you help? So this is a really good question because more and more meals are eaten out of the home. And the more we eat meals out of the home, the less control that we have over the nutrition within those meals. Now, if you've participated in the minimally processed food challenge, one of the things that we talk about is the fact that there are foods that you would traditionally think are healthful foods, but the way that they are then processed to make them more shelf stable, to make them more palatable over time, actually adds a lot of things that we don't think are there. We also have, I did a video on TikTok about eating on the road. We'll link that up in the show too, where you go out and you feel like you're making the healthy choice, but then what can happen is there's so many extra fats and oils on food when you're really just getting protein and vegetables, so you end up getting a lot more calories than you think. So I'll link that video up so you can see that and kind of talk you through that as well. But if you're going to eat out, and sometimes, many of you know this, I cut my teeth in nutritional counseling early on working in Manhattan out of a gym called Peak Performance. And basically there, like, no one cooked at home. It was all eating out. It was all ordering. And fortunately we had a food service that people could use, which made it a little easier to get calorie controlled meals, but it was still a problem for a lot of people. And this could be just part of your life, whether it's work or whether it's just the cadence of your day-to-day life. Maybe you just hate cooking and you're going to eat out more. So what can you do? One of the things that I always try to do is nowadays caution clients when they order salads. Now, this sounds crazy, but the reason is salads are the go-to safe, kind of healthy choice, right? You want to go out and eat healthy? I'm going to get a salad. You don't expect to get 1,500 calories from a salad, but you could get 800 calories from it. You're thinking, I'm going to get a 5, maybe 600 calorie salad, so you're able to get this lower calorie meal, but it's not. And part of this has to do things that are put on salads to make them delicious, and also salad dressings. So these are the two areas that we need to concern ourselves with. Rule number 1, when it comes to ordering a salad at a restaurant, always ask for a dressing on the side. And I got to tell you, I make this mistake. Still, I make this mistake where I don't ask for dressing on the side, and I always regret it. Every single time I had ordered a salad, it was a wedge salad, right? Which is generally, you pretty much know what's coming because it's just a wedge of iceberg lettuce. There's going to be a little bit of bacon, a little bit of cheese. So I asked for those things on the side, forgot to ask for the dressing on the side. And the dressing was poured all over this. You didn't even know. It looked like a mound of snow. Like you didn't even know it was iceberg lettuce. It was so coated in this thick dressing. And I just saw the waitress bringing it over, and I thought to myself, I should know better to ask dressing on the side. Always ask for dressing on the side. That's going to allow you to control, salad dressing is going to be one of the major sources of calories when you're eating a salad. And so that's really going to help you control the calories in your salad. If you can, I recommend going with oil and vinegar. If not, go with an oil-based versus a cream-based dressing. So a balsamic vinaigrette over a ranch or a blue cheese. One of the reasons I like to ask for oil and vinegar if possible is it allows you to manipulate the ratio of oil and vinegar, allowing you to get more moisture, more flavor into your salad without more oil. I'm a huge fan of extra virgin olive oil. It's, one of the foundational foods in my diet. However, it still contains a lot of calories and it's still easy to overpour. So generally when I'm having a salad or if I'm making a salad dressing, the ratio of olive oil to vinegar is going to favor vinegar. Whereas traditionally in recipes, the ratio definitely favors olive oil. So you give up a little bit of flavor by using more vinegar, but you save on calories, so you get to use a little bit more. That's kind of my rationale behind that. So dressing on the side, olive oil and vinegar if you can, but go with the oil-based dressing over the cream-based dressing whenever possible. Now, my rule number 2 for ordering salads is only get one fat-containing topping. So generally what you're going to find nowadays on salads, especially in restaurants, there's going to be at least one sort of cheese, and there's generally going to be one kind of nut, right? So maybe it's going to be feta cheese and slivered almonds, or it's going to be goat cheese and pistachios, whatever it is. You have to settle for just one. The reason is we like salads because they have big volume, they're low calorie, but if all of a sudden you're using dressing and then you're adding cheese and then you're adding nuts to it, all of a sudden these calories add up really quick. And so by just picking nuts or cheese, that allows you to hedge your bets towards controlling those calories. My preference is to go with the nuts because they have fiber, and research shows that nuts like pistachios actually have less calories per serving than we thought, because the fiber essentially binds those foods and your body can't extract as much of the calories out of it. So salad dressing on the side, only add one fat containing topping to it. And then the third thing is beware of any additives that contain added sugars. So this is generally going to be like if you have something like dried fruit. So dried cranberries, always coming with added sugar. Candied nuts, that's always going to be something that's going to be described on the menu. With the salad, get rid of those. We're just adding added sugars to the salad, added calories. And in my mind, those aren't calories that you're necessarily going to love. Like if you love candied nuts, then I guess you could go for it because you're like, this is my joy in life is candied nuts. But if you could care less and you'd rather have those calories, those carbohydrates, those sugars somewhere else, like I would, hold the candied nuts, right? So then what you find is you're actually going to end up with a salad like you would make at home. Add some lean protein to it, or maybe a piece of salmon, right, which you can always order as an add-on onto your salad, and you have a really good meal. So what you're just doing here is you're putting up several guardrails to prevent against this caloric creep. So the caloric creep is really the thing you need to look out for and look out against when you're ordering out. You're going to order steamed broccoli because you're like, hey, that's a good choice, or some steamed vegetable, but then they dump 2 pats of butter on it, right? And then all of a sudden you're picking this low calorie, low energy density food, and the butter's totally changed the game. So you have to communicate to the server how you'd like your food. Ask questions about it. Is this sauteed? Did they add butter or something to this? How is this seasoned? These are all totally reasonable questions that you should be asking. So you have to be much more of an advocate than you think. And when in doubt, double down on the vegetables, right? That's going to fill up the plate. Generally, they're going to be ecstatic to give you more vegetables because you're not asking for necessarily more protein, right? And then that's going to give you a larger volume, allow you to feel more full and satisfied on fewer calories, and also displace some of those other calories that you might have consumed otherwise. Now in this, you said that you are pretty good and pretty careful about what you're eating. So then I'm assuming you're using a strategy like consuming less of the starches on the plate, or maybe asking to remove starches and doing more vegetables. In this case, it's not that there's something wrong with the starches, but it's, again, we just have to hedge our bets against this caloric creep. You have to appreciate that the meal that you eat when you eat out is going to be so much more calorically dense than if you would have made the same meal at home. So you just have to make decisions to get rid of calories that you don't really care about, right? Is that side of rice going to be that good? Or are you going to really enjoy it that much? If you are, go for it. But if you care less, just ask for more vegetables, or just ask that they don't even bring that side there. The other strategy I think that's also important to kind of tack on this is saying, if you don't want it, don't allow it to be on the table. Like the free chips and salsa, you can ask them to take that away. Like the bread basket, I turn away the bread basket all the time because I know myself, if there's delicious warm bread, like it's going to get eaten. But if it's not there, it's not going to get eaten, and I could care less. So be an advocate and always assume whatever meal you're having is more calories than you think it is. So you start aggressively hedging your bets towards removing calories you don't really care about. That's really the key steps that you can take to be more successful eating out. The other thing is to look at your diet holistically on overall day. And if you know that you're going to be eating out later in the day, and it's going to be a situation where you're kind of question your ability to control what that meal is going to look like, then eat less at those other eating occasions. So think of your calorie consumption from a 24-hour standpoint. I think it's important sometimes to think of it from a 7-day standpoint, not just that meal, but think that, well, if I'm going to go out and have a meal, it's going to be more calorically dense. It's going to be a larger meal than normal, and I'm going to have that at the end of the day. Maybe I skip my snack in the afternoon. Maybe lunch or breakfast is a little bit smaller. So adjust the portion sizes of meals earlier in the day so that at the end of the day, you're going to net out at the same energy balance level that you're trying to achieve. If you can do all those things, you're going to make a lot of really good steps towards being successful with your weight loss while also being able to eat out. So the next question says, I'm 47 years old and I'm having trouble putting on muscle. I'm also tired a lot. Could I have low testosterone? What supplements can I take? This is a really good question and really common. I think that it's important to appreciate that the symptoms of low testosterone, it's like the symptoms of COVID. It's every symptom, right? If as the symptom list for COVID grew, you're like, well, this is basically every symptom: cough, runny nose, sniffly, fever. Like, it could be anything. Unfortunately, the low testosterone is an analogy there. Like, hard to put on muscle mass, fatigue, irritability, low sex drive. Like, there are all these things that could also be stress. They could also, it could be a variety of different things. Low testosterone is the classic. Go to WebMD and it gives you this list, that's pretty general from a symptom perspective. So if you think for some reason that you might have low testosterone, the best real way to figure that out is to get it tested. And if you're a 47-year-old male, you should have no problem with your primary care physician ordering that test to just see where you are with your testosterone levels, because it's definitely at a point in your life where they're on the downswing. Unfortunately, there aren't any good supplements that you could take to really boost your testosterone levels. Everything out there falls into two categories. One, smoke and mirrors, or two, blatant lies, right? If you see something touting it's boosting testosterone and it's a dietary supplement, it's pretty much going to fit in one of those two categories. Supplements like Tribulus have never been shown to work in humans, but are continually touted as helping you boost testosterone. Other products like D-aspartic acid had one short-term study early on showing that could enhance testosterone levels, but really after that has never really been shown to boost, maintain, or make significant changes over time in testosterone levels. So another one that I would consider smoke and mirrors is ashwagandha. So ashwagandha, I think, has some really incredible promise when it comes to fighting stress. And it's also been shown at certain doses to increase muscle mass and muscle strength. Now, because it increases muscle mass and muscle strength, some people have taken that one step further and say, well, it's going to then boost testosterone. But that's not necessarily the case. Now, fighting stress and boosting muscle mass, right? Those things would point and suggest that it could be an increase in testosterone, but we don't actually know if that's true. So I definitely wouldn't go around saying ashwagandha is going to boost testosterone, because there's actually clinical evidence to show that it doesn't. So that would fall into the category, in my mind, of smoke and mirrors. Other things, vitamin D. Vitamin D is consistently not shown to boost testosterone levels. If you have low levels of vitamin D, should you supplement with it? If you're not a milk drinker, then definitely yes. But you don't really need to overdo vitamin D either. I've done an interview with Scott Smith, who's a NASA scientist, and they don't even give astronauts 1,000 milligrams of vitamin D a day when they're in outer space. It's just they found that it's not needed. And I don't think you're necessarily in a situation that is more extreme or would warrant more vitamin D than an astronaut in outer space. Some other ones, let me see. I talked about Tribulus, vitamin D. So some things that are in your life that could be leading to low testosterone levels. Subclinical zinc deficiency. So correcting a zinc deficiency could support healthy testosterone levels. This is more of a, small hinges swing big doors. I think that especially if you are very physically active, you do intense exercise, that can promote low levels of zinc. Zinc is cheap, easy. It's not going to hurt you to take it. I think supplementing with zinc is great. It's something that I'll supplement with pretty much every day. Stress is such a killer for testosterone levels. So this is not the day-to-day stress, not the stress that you see from an intense workout, but that chronic stress, the worry stress. That is a huge testosterone killer. And so taking a serious look at, the stress levels in your life, what are the things that are stressing you out, that can have a huge impact on your physiology. Lack of sleep is also something else that can hurt testosterone levels. If you're not getting 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep per day, you're feeling tired, you're feeling lethargic. It might not be testosterone. It might just be the fact that you're only getting 5.5 hours of sleep and your body needs 8. So having a realistic look at your sleep patterns and how much sleep you're getting on a day-to-day basis is really important. I think that we oftentimes, when we feel fatigued and lethargic, we all of a sudden look for some band-aid solution. We look for what's the supplement or what condition, thyroid or otherwise adrenal issue do I have, when it might just be you need to go to bed and get 2 hours, hour and a half more sleep each night to really feel better and feel rested. So that can have huge impacts on your physiology as well. Another thing that's popular and often talked about is low-fat diets and testosterone. This isn't as clear-cut as you would think. So there's been a meta-analysis and a couple different studies looking at fat intake and testosterone levels. One, a long time ago, I believe Jeff Volek did it when he was at Penn State. There was a correlation between saturated fat intake and testosterone levels. So individuals who had higher intakes of saturated fat had higher testosterone levels, which I think is interesting, but not a reason to really pump up saturated fat more than you would need to. It's overly present in our current diet, and so probably your efforts to restrict it would be better for your overall health. When you look at that comparison between low fat and high fat, oftentimes we'll talk about this with protein, like high protein or moderate protein. Look, what do those actually mean? So what does low fat actually mean? And low fat, nutritionally, a low fat diet, I would say a consensus is around 20% calories from fat or less. Now, if you look at one of the meta-analyses that was done comparing fat intake in different diet groups and testosterone levels, sometimes this fat intake was below that, sometimes this fat intake was above it, maybe 25% calories from fat. So there's no hard and fast definition when looking at fat intake and testosterone levels to say what is what, but people who eat lower fat diets will generally have lower levels of testosterone. This doesn't mean you need to go on a high fat diet. This just means you shouldn't eat a low fat diet if that's a concern. And I think generally, avoiding low fat diets is the way to go, staying up in that 30% calories from protein, which is really easy because fat's everywhere in our diet. Using extra virgin olive oil as the primary oil in your diet, having a serving of nuts every day as a snack, eating something like eggs, having dairy products, and then still trimming external fat off, meats, removing skin from chicken, things like that. And that'll get you around that 30% calories from fat. So I would consider it just eating a reasonable diet to have a fat level that would support healthy testosterone levels. The other thing would be weight loss, or not weight loss, caloric restriction, which is often we do when we're trying to lose weight. That caloric restriction, especially chronic, so ongoing for a long time, can negatively impact testosterone levels. So if you are someone who's been trying to lose weight for a long time, or feel like you've been on this weight loss yo-yo, or generally just feel like you undereat, this could be a thing that is working against you with regards to optimizing your testosterone levels. If you're going to be in this chronic caloric restriction, it can be really hard. Sometimes people try to counter that with more regular resistance training, but resistance training is really hit or miss with its long-term effects on testosterone. What I would really recommend is that I wouldn't focus on what are the activities I need to do to boost testosterone specifically as much. I would get the blood test, see what it says, have that conversation with your physician. But then if you kind of think about all the different things that I've mentioned, these are all core healthy living habits that we should be doing anyway. Controlling stress, getting enough sleep, eating a moderate fat diet through these nutrient rich foods, exercising regularly, making sure we're getting all the vitamins and minerals that we need, right? These are all the things that we should be doing anyway. And so I wouldn't focus too much. I know, especially men, as we get older, there becomes this focus on testosterone, but testosterone is not the be all end all of muscle mass anyway. There needs to be caloric excess, there needs to be resistance training, there needs to be a sufficient volume of resistance training, right? There's a lot of things that go into what you would need to do to build muscle that's not just testosterone. So get the test, have the conversation with your doctor, and then work on optimizing your overall healthy habits. That's what I would do. Next question is, what fitness apps do you use on a daily basis? Okay, so went through my phone, and I'm pretty good about keeping apps I don't use off my phone. So here are the apps that I usually use. I have an Apple Watch, so I use Apple Fitness or Apple Health, kind of my main tracker of activity, sleep, that sort of thing. I'll use, with a training perspective, I'll use Morpheus, which is a heart rate variability and training application that a friend of mine, Joel Jameson, made. I've worked with Joel a bunch over the years. You've probably known him for about 10 years. He's just a kind of a brilliant exercise conditioning physiologist, and has worked in a wide range of athletics. And he got into technology through trying to help his mixed martial arts fighters get in better shape. And so he has an app and a tracker that he uses to measure. You put it on your wrist or via a heart rate strap called Morpheus, which monitors your heart rate variability, which is the time space in between your heartbeats, and then uses that information to make recommendations on how intense you should train and for how long. So I'll use that, and then sometimes I'll also use MyZone. Maybe you've seen me talk about using MyZone too. It's a very simple kind of color-coded way to train in different hard zones. From a weight training perspective, I'm pretty hardcore pen and paper. I have just, notebooks full of sets and reps and things like that. But more recently, I've been using Train Heroic, and it's very easy to use, especially during the workout. I found that most apps for tracking, sets and weights and exercises are really clunky. I find Train Heroic to be nice. I use the free version, but Train Heroic is a great one. From a meditation standpoint, there's an app called Healthy Minds, and it's developed by, I believe it's the Healthy Minds Institute. One of my favorite books in the last 3 years that I've read is a book called Altered Minds that was put out by the scientists that lead up the Healthy Minds Institute. This is an incredible meditation app. It's totally free, and it's a mixture of audio education and meditations. And you essentially go on this meditation journey, moving through different domains of mindfulness, and you can set durations, and there's all different kinds of meditations that you can use. It's a total goldmine, and it's totally free, it's insane to me. So I can't imagine paying for a mindfulness or a meditation app. This one is really good. So that's called Healthy Minds. And then finally, the last app that I use is called Streaks. It's just a simple, did you do this today? Did you do this today? You just literally push a button to say yes, and it tracks how long you've consecutively done habits that you're trying to do. So for me, I do that for things like resistance training or cardio or my shoulder mobility, things that I want to make sure that I'm getting in on a certain cadence, and I don't want to break that streak to build that momentum. And so I use Streaks too. So those are the nutrition and kind of healthy living fitness apps that I use on a daily basis and have on my phone. The last question is another question about kind of some things that I do. And it says, hey, Dr. Mike, what is a typical day of eating look like for you? So typical day for me, I work from home, so I have a different flexibility from a food perspective. I try to train in the mornings. And so if I'm going to train in the mornings, I'll have synthesis right after I train, get the kids off to school, just one scoop of synthesis and water. And a scoop of creatine too. I'll do creatine monohydrate then. Help get the kids off to school, and then I'll have breakfast. Breakfast usually comes in two different things. It could be either eggs and oats, and I try to stockpile my oats with additional fiber, so flax meal, chia seeds, wild blueberries, things like that. Eggs are going to be scrambled eggs or an omelet with vegetables. Or the other one would be Greek yogurt with berries, nuts, again, chia seeds, flax seeds, pistachios, and I might mix in a little bit of synthesis depending on how much protein, how big the serving of Greek yogurt is, and if I had the scoop of synthesis earlier that morning or not. Lunch is usually a salad, but it could also be sauteed vegetables. That's what I'm going to have. A bunch of beans too in my salad. Have some sort of protein. The protein is going to be generally chicken thighs or some sort of cut of beef. Generally, that's something we had for dinner the night before. About once a week, I'll have a piece of salmon, and I generally would have that at lunch. A snack in the afternoon is going to be pistachios and a piece of fruit. Could be a Core Power drink as well. Could be a single serve Oikos 000. I kind of have a little bit of a flexibility in there from a protein perspective where I'm getting my protein, but it's always going to be pistachios and a piece of fruit, and then the protein is going to kind of rotate through whatever I have around. And then dinner is always going to be some sort of family style dinner. Our dinners, we try to do them in this, I call it like a modular fashion. If you've gone through the minimally processed food challenge, the Nutrition OS system, I'm really big, or read the MetaShred diet, I'm really big on this idea of modular meals. So we have protein, we have vegetables, we have starches and grains, and then you kind of mix and match however you like. So this could be pasta, meatballs and sauce, with then some sort of vegetable pasta, so spaghetti squash or spiraled zucchini. Try to hide, as we've talked about before, we hide some extra vegetables in the marinara sauce. Could also be tacos or burritos, or I'll do soft corn tortillas, and then it's ground beef, it's sauteed vegetables, a little bit of guacamole, salsa, that sort of thing. Or maybe it's going to be a stir-fried vegetables, cut up chicken or beef, brown rice, mixed in a bowl. Could be something like that. Or salads, which would be similar to what I had at lunch. Some sort of, everybody builds their own salad. So that's generally going to be what dinner looks like. If it's one of those nights where I end up training at night, which are less of my favorite nights, I'll train and then I'll have a scoop of synthesis afterwards. Depending on what time that ends up being, I might have an Athletic Brewing Company non-alcoholic beer, and that's kind of my post-workout carbs as well. So that's kind of what the day-to-day of my nutrition looks like when I'm at home. It's pretty consistent. If you watch the episode about the foods that I eat every day, I talk about the consistency and the rhythm of eating that I get into at home. As we talked about in the last episode about the mental stuff, I try not to let that rhythm define me, but when you can lean into the rhythm, it can really help you from a simplicity standpoint and just an execution standpoint. So that's going to wrap us up for this episode of the Dr. Mike Show. I love the question episodes. I love it when you guys send in the questions. We compile some good ones that I think will benefit for everybody, and then talk through them. So if you have a question that you want me to answer on the show, again, go to mikeroussel.com, click the contact button at the top, and fill out the form and shoot your question. If you haven't yet, you got to try Synthesis. Head over to substancenutrition.com and try Synthesis, which is the protein powder that I developed. It's a blend of whey protein isolate, micellar casein. We just got Informed Sport certified certification, which is kind of a double. It's now Informed Sport certified. That's the important thing. So it's tested for over 250 banned substances, the WADA list, Major League Baseball, NFL, all these different organizations. This Informed Sport cross-references all those, tests for all those substances, and Synthesis has a clean bill of health. So this is really, when I envisioned this product, this is what I wanted. Clean label, high quality ingredients, third party tested for banned substances. We do internal testing for heavy metals and microbiome and bacteria, mold and yeast. And those are all clear and exceed all standards. So it's a premium protein product that you can feel good about taking, you can feel good about the people in your family taking, and it's going to support muscle growth and recovery just like you want. So you can check that out, substancenutrition.com. Thanks again for tuning into the show. Hit me up on social or again at mikeroussel.com if you have any questions or you have any topics you'd love to see me cover on the show. See you guys next week.